Stronger.
Imagine a world without choices.
Stronger.
Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. UIC.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. UIC objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson. Tonight we're going to be talking about some recent developments right here in my backyard in St. Elizabeth, Northeast St. Elizabeth to be exact. Look like we have some lighting issues here. Let me see if I can fix that for us fairly quickly. Just a second here. Here we go. That is much better. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. We're going to be talking about security, and in particular, very, very recent activities here in Northeast St. Elizabeth. Most of you know that I live in St. Elizabeth, and particularly the head office for the UIC is located in Bogue, St. Elizabeth. And we're not too far from Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is about 15-20 minutes away from where I live. And so when you see things happening all around you in Jamaica, there's nothing like when it happens in your backyard. It's a little bit more unnerving, unsettling, and quite uncomfortable. So tonight I want to talk to you about something which is very close to home this time. We're not talking about, in another parish, say St. Catherine or Westmoreland or somewhere else. Tonight I'm going to be talking to you about St. Elizabeth, and in particular, Northeast St. Elizabeth, and more specifically in the area called Bogue, St. Elizabeth. Bogue is a small district in which I live. I live on the border of Bogue and Elam, to be exact. You have Elam, which is south of Bogue, and you have Braes River, which is south of Elam. And all three are to the east of Santa Cruz, which is the northern side of the eastern side of Northeast St. Elizabeth. So good night to you all. Welcome, Carol, Spence, Queen D. Good night to you. Paula Shelley, good night to you as well. Annalisa, good to see you on. Nezook, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Good to see you on as well. Good evening, Avi. It's been a while since I've been here with you. I hope you have been enjoying the presentation from our chairman, Mr. Wright. And I think you also had Miss Acosta on. And on Friday, I hear we're going to have Babatunde coming on. Babatunde is one of our prospective candidates over there in Kingston in the Papine area. So yes, so you'd have seen in the news that on Wednesday, a Beryllium vehicle was significantly shot up by gunmen on Wednesday last. That's yesterday. And same time, in fact, today, we had another serious attempted robbery at a Bundong supermarket in Spanish Town, where gunmen actually went in and attempted to rob the establishment. Fortunately, I'm not aware of anyone being hurt, but there were some severe gunshots in the first incident and the brandishing of weapons in the second. Of lately, we have been seeing an uptick in violence in in the peaceful parish of St. Elizabeth, where we used to have one of the lowest crime rates in the country. And now we're seeing more and more criminal activities, brazen criminal activities happening in St. Elizabeth. And it's spreading across the country to more and more parishes. Now, there are reports that the overall crime numbers our murder numbers are relatively down, in the first quarter of this year compared to the same time last year. But that's no assurances, no reason for us to be comfortable, because what's really happening is that while the overall numbers may be slightly down, the diversity of crimes is up. In other words, what you're seeing now are criminals moving out into different communities across the country where they never normally have a significant presence. Now you're finding that presence of criminal activities throughout the country. What is causing that? Really, the driver, and this is my theory that I developed since the beginning of this SOEs, regularization of SOEs by the government. I have pointed out that if you use states of emergencies the way the government have been using it, you're going to be, I'm hearing that there's no sound. Is that true? You can't hear me? Let me know if you can hear me, please. If you can't hear me, let me know. If you can't hear me. Can you hear me? Better yet, if you can hear me, type yes, so I can know that you can hear me. Let me know. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Greetings. Can you hear me, everyone? Please let me know. One person said they can't hear. There's no sound. Is that the case? Okay, so everyone can hear me loud and clear. Sorry about Scotty that you can't hear. So yeah, man. So as I was saying, we are, so Scotty, it's your side, eh? Change your settings on your side. Others can hear clearly. So as I was saying before, we're seeing the spread of crime more significantly across all 14 parishes. So in the past, you used to have pockets of, high levels of, murders and shootings and so on in certain pockets across the country. But when the Prime Minister started to use SOEs as a standard measure for fighting crime, I predicted that what would happen is that because of how they use these measures, the criminals would be moving around the country. And as they move around the country, they would get a chance to become more acclimatized to different parishes, different communities. And so what the Prime Minister in effect was doing, intentionally or unintentionally, is to create franchise operations of criminal gang activities that are strong in certain areas. By his measure, he's pushing them into other areas to create pockets of a franchise operation. So just like how you have a Kentucky Chicken franchise, or Courts or any other company, now you have the gangs setting up more and more franchise operations across the country. So the crime plan, if you will, or the government crime fighting strategy has really turned out to be more an effective franchising operation, pushing criminals out into the rest of the country. Now, as long as they continue to do this, we're going to see the increase, but that's not the only problem. The Prime Minister and the government has not really addressed the core underlying cause of criminal activities in Jamaica. They have not addressed the fact that we continue to have an environment, a low-wage environment, a high unemployment environment. Disregard the statistics. The reality is Jamaica has a high unemployment rate because many persons cannot find work, and some are not fit for the work that's available, and many are dissatisfied. In fact, almost all are dissatisfied with the wage rates that they're getting. So when you combine the unavailability of jobs, with the low wages for jobs, and the fact that more and more of our young people are feeling as though they don't have any hope, they don't have any place in this country. You know, they leave school and they feel hopeless. The vast majority of our young people are looking for a way out. They're looking for an opportunity to leave Jamaica because they're not finding Jamaica to be a place where they can make life. They can't, you know, start a family, get a job, be able to afford a home, you know, maybe a vehicle, send your kids to school, participate in extracurricular activities, just have a normal life. So more and more of our young people are feeling disenfranchised. On top of that, our education system that we have has not been particularly helpful, because the vast majority of our students, when they leave high school, they are incompetent. They don't have the skills necessary to build a thriving economy. And so they are, again, you know, adding to the misery of a very poorly designed economy and an environment which lacks inspiration and hope. They're coming out without the skills that they need to succeed. Now, where are they channeling their energies? The vast majority of the energy of our young people are being channeled into things that are not wholesome, that are not building confidence and building skills and competences. Instead, they're finding that a life of crime, various forms of crimes, seems more lucrative, more promisable. So you're seeing an uptick in females getting involved in white collar crime, for example, more scamming locally in Jamaica, more fraudulent activities happening. Decent people, people who you think are decent, the nice looking people, well-dressed people, young people, middle-aged people, older people getting involved in all kinds of activities outside of the norm in order to make some kind of living, to find some kind of, you know, decent way of existing. They're watching TV, they're watching Netflix, they're seeing all the stuff around the world, and they would like to have some kind of a better lifestyle. And they're not seeing how they can achieve that by getting up each morning and going to work. Just recently, my wife and I were, and my daughter, my youngest daughter, we were at a restaurant in Kingston. And we had a lovely breakfast at this restaurant. And we asked one of the workers, you know, to tell us what her income was. How much did she make every 2 weeks? And we did the math at the table with my daughter, because I wanted her to understand and appreciate what was happening to the vast majority of Jamaicans. Now, this young lady said she makes $9,500 every week. So if you multiply that by 52 weeks in a year, it means she makes $494,000 for the year. Now, this is before taxes, okay? Now, so before any tax at all. Now, all Jamaicans pay a minimum amount of tax. We pay the NIS, which is the National Insurance Tax. We pay the NHT, which is the National Housing Trust Tax. We pay Ed tax as well from our pay. Now, if you make under 1.5 million, you don't pay the income tax, which is 25% up to a certain level, and then 30% and so on. But everybody pay those minimum tax. The employer also pay a portion of that as well, plus the heart tax on top of it. But let's assume that this young lady took home all $9,500 every week, which means $494,000 for the year. Now, if you subtract from that, let's divide that, by the way, by 12 to kind of get an approximation of the monthly income for this person. That would be $41,166 for the month. Um, that's unbelievable. Uh, let me do that again, right? 9,500 for the week times 52. That gives you 494,000 for the year. Divided by 12, that gives you $41,000 for the month. I'm still stuck there because I know that is like impossible to live on. I'm not using this as a value judgment as to the person's value. I don't know what kind of value this employee brings to the employer. All I do know is that this is what she took home. This is what her pay was from this employer. Now, I asked her how much was rent. She says for a decent place, it's between 25 and 35,000 for a minimally decent place. Now, if you take that out of her monthly rent, it's finished. I asked her about lunch. She says, well, the employer provides her, all the staff, lunch, which is good. But if she had to buy lunch, that would be at a minimum, $500 for the day times 5 days times 52 divided by 12. You're looking at about $10,830 a month for lunch. Roughly the same would also go into transportation to and from work. So you're looking at about $22,000 for lunch and transportation out of a $41,000 pay. So quite small. So people are having a very, very hard time. And Jamaica is a low-income country. The vast majority of our people make a low income, the vast majority. There are only a few that are making, some relatively big sums, like the Commissioner of Police. I think he gets about 18 or more $1 million a year. So he's in a very good position compared to many other Jamaicans. And he's in charge of our crime fighting. But for some reason, the criminals are getting bolder and bolder and bolder. They're beginning to have regular shootouts, broad daylight robberies, drive-by shootings. It's just getting really, really out of hand. And so when I saw this bit of news today, I said, let me jump on and I want to talk about specifically now what has happened in my backyard yesterday. Beryllium, they had a truck, or rather one of their, what do you call it now, vehicles, coming through not too far from my house, literally less than 5 minutes away from my house. They're traveling up Bogue Road, and on their way up, gunmen appeared and started firing, just like a movie, at the bus, firing at them. And they made a hasty retreat and fortunately were able to escape with their lives and went to the Shiloh police station. Now, Shiloh is just further up from me, but that was very, very close to home. And so I want us to pause and think about it and ask ourselves the question, why is it that a country like Jamaica, which started life so well compared to many other countries, in the 1960s, Jamaica had one of the strongest economic base in the Caribbean, if not in all of the Americas. Of course, no comparison to America, but very strong. We were also very strong, relatively speaking, compared to a country like Singapore, which today has about 6 million people. We have roughly 3 million people here. But when we started life, we were much stronger, much stronger than Singapore in terms of having the industries. I remember as a boy, there was a company called Metal Box out on Spanish Town Road, where they made all kinds of products, including outlets and switches and so on. Really big industry. We had so many of these, so many strong companies here in Jamaica in the 1960s, still in the 70s, still in the 90s. We lost a lot of them in the late 70s with the threat of communism. And then we lost a lot of them again in the 1990s with the FinSAC situation. And we have just been losing, and more of our industry is just evaporating. And you ask yourself the question, why? Why is it that Jamaica is on this downward trajectory? Yes, I know they tell us about we're doing well here, we're doing well there. They show us fancy highways and says we've built fancy highways and so on. But what's the joy of having a fancy highway that you can't drive on because you're too poor? You can't afford a toll on it, while your regular roads are in significant disrepair. So there's some disconnect here. It's like the brain of our government is disconnected from the reality of the Jamaican people. So when you hear them talking on the news and telling you how well we're doing, you have to wonder, is what Jamaica are they looking at? When I see the Jamaica that is out there every day, when I stop and talk with people, like yesterday, I was talking with two ladies at the Fort Charles relic out there in Port Royal. And when I talk to them about life, about what they're going through and what they're feeling, it's not the Jamaica that the Prime Minister is portraying. And then you have another set of hypocrites now, which is the other party, which when they're in opposition, they can tell you everything sweet and nice about all the stuff and all that's what's wrong and what needs to change and what they've done in the past. But yet still, the Jamaican people continues to suffer and suffer and suffer in so many ways. And I know the plan is to fool us again into voting for one of them. But I want to play for you tonight the news item which really caught my attention, because I must tell you, it's really painful to watch the news. And as much as I'm involved in trying to rescue Jamaica from what these people have done with it, I have a hard time watching the news every night. A very hard time watching the news because it is so depressing. And I don't find that we are as galvanized enough yet. People are telling me to lead demonstration. This is not, I mean, when I call even demonstration, not a lot of people are really interested, to be honest. So it's not about leading demonstrations. Our demonstrations are largely pockets of persons focused on their own little area. So teachers want pay, they'll go out and ball out. They want pay increase. Police want back pay, they'll go out and ball out. They want back pay. And, each little group, subgroup will call out for their little piece of thing. But you don't have a united front. And oftentimes it's kind of political, So they don't want to really join with you and have a mass impact. They want to do their own little piece of thing for their own small piece of the pie, not realizing that the bigger pie is a problem. And what we need to do is to unite. So teachers, nurses, police officers, firefighters, everybody need to come together and say enough is enough. We want change. So anyways, this story that really caught my attention, I have to share with you. So I want you to take a look at this one now.
And a special welcome once again to our viewers on onespotmedia.com.
Now, first this evening, quick action by Beryllium guards in St. Elizabeth prevented another brazen daylight robbery of millions of dollars.
Now, it comes after the armored vehicle in which they were traveling came under heavy gunfire by armed thugs along the Bogue main road in the parish.
Now, as Kalisha Williams reports, the guards managed to escape injuries with the cash intact.
This is where the drama unfolded shortly after 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. The heavily vegetated and deserted Bogue Main Road in St. Elizabeth. TVJ News was informed that the Beryllium vehicle was traveling along the main road when a white motor car with several men aboard attempted to block its path and started firing at the vehicle. The Beryllium driver, on realizing what was happening, took quick action and maneuvered the vehicle to escape the robbers. However, it's reported that the gunmen did not relent. They continued firing at the vehicle, hitting one of the tires and the back of the truck. We were told the thugs later fled the scene as the Beryllium driver sped off. The police later confirmed that the guard drove the vehicle to the Siloa police station. In the meantime, Director of Public Relations for Guardsmen Group, Commander George Overton, told our news center that the guards escaped injuries. Wednesday's attack is the third such incident on a Beryllium vehicle in less than 2 months. On February 27, a guard was killed and about $10 million stolen when gunmen sprayed bullets at a truck delivering cash at the Portmore Pines Plaza in St. Catherine. Then on March 19, gunmen made off with $23 million after they ambushed a Beryllium vehicle delivering cash at the Scotiabank ATM in Brayton Park, Portmore, St. Catherine. 4 security guards, as well as a licensed firearm holder, were wounded during the attack. The police high command announced that 6 suspects were taken into custody on Tuesday in connection with the Scotiabank attack. Another suspect has been charged in the matter. Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
Yeah, so there you see the attack. It seems quite targeted, eh? They're going after Beryllium a lot. Now, Jamaica is a very, very corrupt country, eh? And when you see these things happening, sometimes you have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. I'll give you a few food for thought. One of them is the 2 political parties that we have running Jamaica over the years. You cannot put it past them to use crime as a tool to impact election outcomes. They have done that in the past for a number of years, openly, more openly than today. I would not be surprised, for example, if when one party is in power, the other party will seek to stir up trouble to let the other party look bad in order for them to take back power. Vice versa. So don't put it past them to use crime, to use putting the people of Jamaica at risk, putting our lives at risk by using crime and violence to influence elections in ways that you would consider most reprehensible. I also wouldn't put it past some to use crime and violence as a means of impacting business outcome. If you notice, this one particular company in the security space is being attacked repeatedly. I wouldn't put it past them past whoever, for using crime and violence as a tool, even as a part of the competitive business space. I'm putting that out there. Then I also wouldn't put it past them to use crime and violence as a way to usher us towards a so-called cashless society. As you operate in the space here in Jamaica and around the world, you're going to find an assault on our use of money in various forms, including the gradual elimination of ATM machines, or the poor servicing of ATM machines, the lack of funds or high maintenance, and a gradual reduction in your ability to access your money more and more, to the point of severe frustration and almost everybody choosing finally to go with the central bank digital currency. Our world is so corrupt from the top down that it's amazing. You cannot put anything past the powers that be to achieve their ends. They will do anything, any form of deception, any form of corruption, any form of trickery, any form of bribery, whether it's to pay you to take an injection or to pay you to take on and use a particular form of currency, in the end, with the objective of gradually placing you under government arrest, by placing you in a system where you can't do anything without the permission of the government. Let me rephrase that. we will very soon find ourselves, I believe, in a situation where you cannot buy or sell without the government's permission. And you can only buy and sell what the government thinks you should buy and sell. And the government, I mean, are those who you think you elected, or who a small portion of us elected because we were so directed. And we're directed by a few elites who are behind the scenes pulling the strings, at some point causing us to believe we have a democracy, and eventually we finally realize that we don't. So when I see all these attacks on beryllium, I have to look beyond the surface to what's really lurking underneath. Yeah? What is it that's lurking underneath the surface? And I strongly believe that beryllium is being targeted today, no, but that we the people are next. As long as you have all these factors coming together to create a very unsafe environment for the Jamaican people. Yeah? And if we don't do something very dramatic about it, because, you know, any sensible Jamaican, anybody who have looked at Jamaica over the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, let alone the 80 years of these two parties, if you look at Jamaica, where we're heading, we're not heading for a good place. We're heading for a Jamaica where our country won't be owned by us anymore. Our country will be owned by others. And we are like some kind of tenant or squatter in this country. Now, not all of us. There are some of us who will be among the 10% or the 5% or the 1%, right? There'll be some of us who are wealthy and well off. And I must admit that it's very likely that I will be among those who are in a more well-off position than others. But the vast majority of us are running the risk of being led down a path where we're completely without rights and without a future. In a way, we're kind of already there, but I think they're now formalizing it. They're now putting all the pieces in place to fully. You see how hard I hate to say, how the government and the prime minister have worked over the last few years, how hard they have worked to get us to accept whatever it is that the colonial masters want us to accept. They have worked very, very hard to get us there. There were a few oppositions. The UIC put up a valiant opposition, and then everybody went to sleep. They're all asking, what is Mr. Patterson doing and where is the UIC? As if it is not our collective responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It is our responsibility. All of us, we're all responsible for defending our rights and our freedom. It is not one man's responsibility. It's not Joseph Patterson's responsibility. It's not the UIC's responsibility. It is the responsibility of all of us. And I must say a tremendous appreciation for the Jamaicans overseas, who, by the way, contribute more than 80% of our donations. You who are outside of Jamaica, who could have turned your back on Jamaica, could have just given up and just focus on the country where you now find yourself. You are still hopeful and you're still pushing for change. And I applaud you and I appreciate you. I wish that enough of us here at home who are suffering, who are struggling, who are feeling the pain every single day, I wish we would rise up. Instead, what I'm seeing are some of you talking about joining with the PNP, What's wrong with you? How can we join with the PNP? It's the PNP why we're here in this mess. We're not in this mess because of the JLP alone. We're in this mess because these two parties are the very embodiment of the colonial system and the colonial masters. They are funded by the 1% elite that runs this country. They have been funded and propped up and promoted and supported and protected by the 1% elite in this country that we oftentimes refer to as the PSOJ. So if we want a new Jamaica, there's no way that that new Jamaica can entail the UIC joining force with the PNP. None whatsoever. That is simply a continuation of what we're trying to get out of. Now, some of you are saying some nice things about Mark Golding. You know, things like, oh, well, him have money already. Oh, he wasn't involved in the whatever was in the past. Do you know your history? Have you been paying attention? Do you know that many of the top political figures, it's not they when they run for office that they are involved in the corruption that has brought Jamaica to its knees. It's not the day that you first hear their name that they became involved. For example, the current Prime Minister was involved from his days in university. And shortly after university, he was involved. Just the same, not yet elected. And then eventually, the club, the gang, the mafia, if you will, worked its miracle, its magic, and poof, he's a member of parliament. And then poof, he's a minister of government. And then poof, he's prime minister. And then poof, see what he has done. So let us be clear, the path to a new Jamaica is not through the PNP, with the PNP, or by the PNP. That is the path to an old Jamaica. Nor is it to continue with the JLP. That is the path of more destruction. If the PNP could have helped us, they would have done so when they had 18 straight years in office, 18 and a half years in office. They could have helped us, but they didn't. So the crime problem we see here today, the 3 attacks on Beryllium, the spreading of gangs across Jamaica, the fact that you can't sleep with your windows and doors open, the fact that you can't keep your business place open at night, the fact that you have to be fearful working late and going home late, the fact that you have to worry when your children are outside in the evening, is not because of Andrew Olness alone. It's not because of the JLP alone. It's because of the PNP and JLP owned and operated and controlled by the PSOJ oligarchy. All of which are subservient to the colonial masters and colonial powers. Anything the colonial powers want is what they do. So the education system we have reflects that colonial ideal, which then produces the kind of failures that we're seeing, which contributes to our crime problem. the economic model that we have, which is a master-slave economic model, which is designed to enrich a few and to keep the masses poor, living on the margins, living on the edge, living hand to mouth. That economic model is an economic model subscribed to by both GLP and PNP. The two parties are identical except for what kind of paint they put on the outside. They're like whitewashed tombs full of dead men bones, a corrupt set of institutions designed to perpetually divide the Jamaican people, distract us with all kind of partisan shenanigans, such as calling people massa or telling people to shut up or whatever it is they do in Parliament. All kinds of shenanigans to distract us. While they and their true masters systematically develop all kinds of schemes to steal from us. Even a nice sounding scheme like the NHT, they've used that to milk us. Yes, billions of dollars that should have gone into building housing for low-income Jamaicans have gone year after year into the coffers of a government dedicated to corruption. And so we have been paying out of our paychecks NHT monies to prop up corruption, to fund corruption in this country. And that is why they love the poor. They love the poor because the poor are ignorant. They love the poor because the poor are financially weak. They love the poor because they can manipulate the poor over and over to vote against their own self-interest. And it has worked. And one of the ways that they have been able to keep us poor is by the use of crime. Never forget that. Jamaica's crime problem is a perfect reflection of the legacy of the PNP and JLP. That's their legacy to Jamaica. They created the crime problem. And don't listen to nothing what they say. Whether it's Peter Bunting calling for divine intervention or Horace Chang telling them to shoot to kill, it doesn't matter. They are the epitome of crime. We're asking criminals to solve the crime problem. Let that sink in. They have never come forward and told the Jamaican people the truth that they are the architects of Jamaica's crime problem. They created the garrisons. They created the dons. They empowered these criminal gangs with government contracts. Don't forget that, please. I'm begging you, don't forget the genesis of our crime problem. And so when you're thinking now about solution, you can't think about those who have created it. I hate to tell you this, but there are no good candidates in the PNP or JLP. There are no good candidates. There's not one good candidate in the JLP or PNP, none at all. Here's why. For you to be a good candidate, it means that your goal is to represent the people of your constituency. Your goal is to defend the interest of the people of your constituency. Your goal is to bring good governance to the people of your constituency. Your goal is to ensure that Jamaica becomes a safe, clean, and orderly country where everyone can live, earn, and retire with dignity. That is your goal for you to be a good candidate. Now, if you're a good candidate and you join the GLP or PNP, that immediately disqualifies you as a good candidate. It means that you're either ignorant or complicit. Either you're ignorant of the history and the tragedy and the destruction of those two parties. Either you're ignorant of it, and that's what caused you to join them, because you're not aware. You don't understand what's going on. You've never carefully studied the situation, so you don't really know what's going on. So you're ignorant. Either you're ignorant, and that's why you joined the GLP or the PNP, you're ignorant, or you're complicit. You like what they're doing, you like how they operate, you know how the thing's set, and so you want to be a part of that, so you can benefit from how the thing's set. And don't be fooled by any good deeds that these good candidates may do, whether it is to have a health fair or a bounce about or do any kind of infrastructure work like Action Ann did over there in Portland. You cannot be fooled by those things. You have to be aware that when a person joins an organization, it is because they've taken the time to assess what are the pros and cons, the risks and rewards of joining this organization to pursue a particular objective. So when a young man or a young woman who is supposedly intelligent and informed, be they a medical doctor, lawyer, engineer, teacher, social worker, or janitor, whatever the reason is why they decide to join an organization, it must be because they've assessed the pros and cons. Now, if you're getting involved in representational politics, it means that you're saying you want to represent the best interest of the people. How can you knowingly be aware of the history and how these two organizations operate? How can you knowingly be aware of those things and then align yourself with either of them? I couldn't do it. There's no way I could bring myself. There's no way I could lower myself to join the PNP or the GLP in order to represent the people of Jamaica, because I would know that I would not be representing the people of Jamaica. Yes, I would be representing the party. And yes, I would be representing those who own and control the party, but I would not be representing the people of Jamaica or the people of my constituency in Northeast St. Elizabeth. I know I would not be doing that. So anybody who has joined the PNP or GLP, and having joined it ignorantly, because that's what it has to be, you must have been ignorant. Having joined it ignorantly, and you remain in it after you have become aware, then you're not a good candidate. You can't tell me that person's a good candidate. Now, if the person joined it ignorantly and then leave and then tell us the truth, then you can say, okay, we can look at that. But if they join it, and I'm not talking about small fries, I'm not talking about just the common members. I'm talking about a person joining and becoming a candidate, becoming a member of its leadership, president, vice president, general secretary, chairman, whatever role. Once you get into the gang, you must become aware of the activities of the gang. You must. So let's say you were ignorant before you went in. You were ignorant. But now you're in the gang. You must know that you're in a gang and you must want to come out because you realize you made a mistake. But maybe you can't come out. Maybe what they tell you and what they share with you, you can't come out. Because if you come out, something bad might happen to you. Or maybe, having gone in with good intentions, you now realize how lucrative it could be, how much benefit you could get, that if your party should win, what kind of access you're going to get that if you were to remain an ordinary citizen like the rest of us, you would not be able to achieve that level of wealth unless you remain in the gang, in the cult. Yeah? What is the sweetener that has been given to these young men and women that they're going to stay in an organization like the PNP or GLP? So as I said before, for you to be a candidate in one of those two parties, you're either ignorant or you are complicit. Yeah? Either you're ignorant or you're complicit. And if the person is complicit, you don't want them as a candidate representing you. If the person is ignorant, you don't want them as a candidate representing you because it means they can't represent you. It's like you're going to get a lawyer who is incompetent in law, who is ignorant of the law, or who is in cahoots with your opponent. Yeah? So, the bottom line is this. 1 second here. I'm getting a little bit of a message here that something is wrong. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm not sure what's happening there, but my technology is on the threat again. All right, let's hope it don't get cut out, eh? Yeah, Jojo, I hear what you're saying about this person who's building an hospital, but I want you to think beyond that. I mean, listen, the powers that be, if they want to win our votes, they'll do anything. They'll give you what appears to be a free road, a free hospital, a free ice cream, whatever it takes. But we have to think beyond that. We have to go beyond the surface things, beyond the niceties, and look at the reality. And the reality is this. We have given these two parties 80 years. 80 years to fix our country. Whether it's a hospital or a clinic or a garbage container, it doesn't matter to me at this stage. What matters is the substance. And the substance is this. They are clearly committed to the continuation of bad governance. So a young person or any person who joins either of these two parties is either ignorant or complicit. And so that's very clear. If they're complicit, we don't want them. And if they're ignorant, well, we have a problem there. If a person joins the party out of ignorance, within a week or two, within a month or two, they should be able to see. You might recall this young fellow, Andre Orton, I think his name is, a young economist, apparently very bright young man. That's the suggestion. And he joined the PNP. They gave him a Senate position to nice him up and give him a profile so they can see him on screen. That's what they use the Senate for, right? They use the Senate to show us, to profile people and get their faces on television and get us to become used to them. And then they move them to run for a seat. That's how they pass them through and get them into their House of Parliament. It's all a nice trick, right? But anyways, this young man joined them. Andre Orton, and went through the process, run for office and all kind of stuff. And then he came out and he was so distraught. He was so devastated by what he learned, what he saw. And he came out and he said he would have never done it if he knew all of that. Okay, which he should have known. So clearly he was ignorant. At least that's the suggestion. But guess what? He's right back in it now. After him come out and tell us all that he saw and how horrible it was. What I'm saying to you, he has said. Damian Crawford has also said the same things. And others have said it. Bruce Golding have said it. And they all went back like a dog returning to his vomit. Yeah? And they go back in it. Why? Now, I was on a program the other day with Wilfred Rattigan and Wayne Lonesome and a guy named Jeffrey Tavares. And one of the questions they asked me is, why should we trust you? And of course, they tried to ridicule me as usual and put me down as usual. That's the norm. I'm used to it now. And they asked me the question, why should people trust you? Why should people trust you? Well, I can't tell you why you should trust me, but I can give you a hint. When I returned to Jamaica in 2011, if I wanted to feather my nest, if I wanted to increase and enlarge my bank account, if I wanted to quickly push my profile up, all I had to do was to say yes to the PNP or the GLP. And in no time, you'd have seen my face in the Senate as a senator, being profiled on TVJ and Nationwide and CVM, in the Gleaner, in the Observer. And you'd hear how bright and brilliant I was and how I'm going to make a difference and so on, and all the nice things. And my accolades would have been spilled out and all that kind of stuff. And then I'd be given a sweet post of some sort. And then I would be a candidate for a seat, maybe Northeast St. Elizabeth. And I'd get elected. And if I was on the PNP side, then the PNP would be cheering, yay, 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 he's the best thing since sliced bread. If I was on the GLP side, you'd hear, yay, 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 he's the best thing since sliced bread. And all the time and money that I've spent trying to build the UIC, I wouldn't be wasting all of that. I would be enjoying that easy, nice, carpeted path to power. And I would be a part of the system that you should now know is an evil, cruel, deceptive, divisive, destructive system. And you might be one of them cheering on and say, he's a good candidate. That's a good candidate, because I would have some attributes that you could point to and say that's good or that's not, whatever. And depending on which side of the camp you favor, if you're PNP leaning, you might not be a PNP supporter fully now, but PNP leaning, you say, yeah man, a good boy. Or if you're a GLP leading and I'm on the GLP side, you see what they've done to us? They've taken away our mental capacity to think objectively and clearly. Well, I am determined not to fall for that. I am not going to make any money because of politics. I am not going to be any richer because of politics. I want Jamaica to be richer. I want Jamaica to be safer. I want Jamaica to be more clean and orderly. I want Jamaica to be more prosperous. I want to see all of Jamaica looking like the Prime Minister's residence. I want all of Jamaica to have the carpeted grass, nicely put on the edges and so on. Nice flowers. I want all of the roads to look like the road leading up to the Prime Minister's residence, or like the Highway 2000 or the Siaga Highway. That's what I want. I want a Jamaica that is designed for the enjoyment of all Jamaicans. And so that's what I'm fighting for. So when the question is asked, why should we trust you? I turn the question back to you, my friends. Why should you? If you don't see any reason why you should trust me, then that is your decision to make. I have done what I am capable of doing. I've made the choices that I have made. And having done so, the onlookers have to judge. Now, of course, judgment requires information. Judgment requires reasoning ability. And sometimes we're short on those things. We're short on information. We're short of reasoning skills. And that may be a challenge. So we might not be able to decipher good from evil, up from down, left from right. And so they take advantage of us. Yeah. So kick Ross. If persons prefer for me to join one of the parties, that's okay. That's a preference. It's, people can have their preference, but I will not join any of them. I could never in good conscience bring myself to join what I know are the destruction of Jamaica. I would not be doing myself any favors to join what I know to be wrong. However, if we continue on this discussion with Beryllium here and what is happening with the crime situation in Jamaica, I see somebody is saying I need to have more content. And that's the problem. Sometimes we take politics for church, where you have some hot preacher looking for the next hot preacher. Who's the next hot preacher coming? Well, I'm quite simple. I am very, very simple in my presentations. I am not here to mesmerize or to, cause persons to become all excited without focusing on substance. And the substance is this. If we want more of the same, then we choose these two parties. If we want something different, we can either create another party or we work with another party that exists, right? Jamaica has 4 registered political parties, 4. The UIC is the 3rd. So after the other 2, we were the 3rd one to be registered under the new laws that they brought in to get rid of political parties, but put it nicely, that they're trying to improve the system. Then there's a 4th one that was also registered. And I believe by the time we have the next election, they'll make sure there's a 5th and maybe a 6th, because their goal now is to bring confusion. The system is quite set, it's very set up, very nicely. And if we want to fool ourselves, then we will be fooled. The system is very well set. All they're going to do is to make sure that come election time, they announce to you some more parties. Here's some more. And then they'll create a bit of a circus atmosphere, and they'll call them on and interview them and look for some ridiculous comments and make it look all foolish. And then they'll divert our attention back. Here's your 2 stable, trusted political brand of cereal, and pick from your 2 brand. Don't worry about those little frivolous things over there. They're not ready for prime time. And of course, they know that you won't have the money, because unless the UIC succeeds in building a grassroots funding movement, they know that there's no money. So you can't compete with them on the air, the airwaves, traditional media, or even social media. Like even the last couple of days, social media has blocked a number of our little boosts, advertisement boosts. They just block them. Say no, reject. So there's a war going on here that I think some of us are putting our heads in the sand, and we're deciding not to pay attention to the war. Yeah. So they're deciding to say, they're looking for the UIC to do things without the UIC having any money, right? So it's like, go out there and get things done. Go lead a march. Why don't you do it? How many of you are coming to leave your job to come lead a march? How many of you are going to leave your jobs and come and lead a march? Let me see you come and do it. Seriously, I'm being very, very serious. It's time for us to wake up, friends, and stop pretending as if we're living in an equal opportunity political environment. We're not. Right? So the game is being played, and we either get with the program and fight back or be played again. Right now, I'm going to show you a clip in a little bit. As hard as the UIC works, all that they're going to do is take whatever value we put out there, spin it as theirs, to grab the minds of the people while using their control of the media to hide the UIC and our plans from the people, so that if and when a little peep of our plans get out to the people, they will say, we've heard that already. And the same thing the other two parties are saying. And they will lump us in with them and say nothing better can come, and do one of two things. One, vote for one of the two same way. Or two, don't vote at all. And that will keep the status quo exactly the way they want it. Yeah? That will keep Jamaica exactly where they want it. Now, what the UIC has done is we have developed a clear plan of action for Jamaica. Never been clearer. We have outlined a solid manifesto, not a plating manifesto, not a election winning manifesto, where you just come with whatever you think people need to hear this time around until we can get them to log on to Progress or log on to your prosperity ideology and then say, yeah. No, the UIC has made a very clear roadmap, a blueprint for Jamaica. It begins by articulating the foundation upon which our plans are built. Our plans are built on the foundation of protecting your rights as an individual, your individual sovereignty. That's the foundational pillar of our movement, protecting your individual rights. Never before has any political party in the history of Jamaica made your sovereignty, the protection of your sovereignty, the foundational pillar of its existence. So when we're elected, you will, for example, have the right to fully defend yourself with the government backing you and supporting you. Now, for some of you, this might come as a shocker, or it might come as an unfortunate statement, or it might be something you think is backward or bad. That's understandable. Not everybody is progressive enough to understand. But I'll tell you how foundational this is. The UIC does not believe it's a privilege for you to own a firearm to protect yourself. We believe it is a right. We don't believe criminals should have more rights than you, nor do we believe any government has a right to determine your right to self-defense. So unlike others, we strongly and unequivocally support your right to own and carry a firearm to protect yourself, your family, and your property, especially in a country where the government seems to be incapable of doing so. That's how fundamental we are. We believe you have the right to your life, to your liberty, and to your property, to do with them as you choose, not as the government dictates. We believe you not only have the right to individual liberty, but you also have to take personal responsibility for your own choices. We believe fundamentally that the land that we call Jamaica belongs to you, not the government. And therefore, the government of the last 80 years have actually been a continuation of your colonial masters, because they have withheld the land from you. And so we're going to return that land to you, the land of your ancestors, the land that was stolen from your foreparents. We believe in a more Afrocentric and liberal education that allows you to understand and empowers you to understand all the rudimentaries of life, not just to get a job, but to be a creator of jobs. And not just that, but to have full command of your own constitution, your own mind, body, and personality, understanding economics and money, so that nobody can fool you like they have done. Right now, them fooling us up left, right, and center with all this inflation foolishness. And most of us don't have a clue what's happening. We do not realize that the value of our money is being stolen from us each and every day by the very thing we call government. The very institution of government is a thief, a criminal agency, carrying out the directives of a global power designed to steal your money every second of every hour of every day. Stealing your money every day, that's going on. And you don't understand it. Most people don't understand it. We're beginning to, because now more of it is being placed out there on social media, so much more that still we might not understand it. But yes, your government have signed on to treaties, set up banking regulations, adopted monetary policies and fiscal policies, all designed to systematically rip you off, to steal your purchasing power. And you won't see it, many of you, until you finally get to the age of 65 or thereabouts, and you're about to retire and realize what a disaster your education and your government has placed on you. They never taught you about money. They didn't teach you the secret of your wealth destruction. They never explained to you how they're stealing the value of every dollar you try to save in any form of pension, and how they're going to wipe out your hard-earned money over time. They never taught you that. Well, the UIC wants to make sure you know that. The UIC wants to make sure you fully understand monetary policy, the science of money, how money works, so that you cannot be fooled by politicians anymore. The UIC wants to change our monetary system to real money, backed by productivity as opposed to being backed by faith in a government that has no right to be called government in the first place. So yeah, the UIC want to restore your ability to access and use natural medicine rather than depending on foreign produced medication as your only real option. We want to give you more options, create more variety, give us confidence again in ourselves as a people, that we can actually produce, manufacture, and use our own products rather than become more and more and more dependent on others to supply all of our needs. That's what the UIC wants. What does the PNP want? What does the PNP do right now? You know what the PNP is doing right now? The PNP is busy copying UIC policies and peddling them as their own, pretending as if they care, trying to regurgitate what we have put forward to see if they can fool you one more time. Just like the JLP. That's all they're doing. And many are being fooled all over again, as if 80 years of it wasn't enough. Many are being fooled all over again. They're going to promise you everything. More free education, more free healthcare, more free food, free land, free water, free electricity. They're going to promise you more of everything just to get your votes again, so that they can get their hands on your tax dollars again, so that they can get to borrow more money on your head again. And you fall for it. Yes, you'll be 5 years older or 14 years older, 4 years older, when you start to feel the pain again. And they might find another way to trick you again into giving them another term. So you're going to be 8 to 10 years older after the next trick again. You'd have passed it on to your children and your grandchildren. You don't see the state of our nation. Look at our young people. They're disillusioned, turned off. my fellow Jamaicans, the time has come for us to do something different. We have to do something different. Now watch this clip here. I want you to see this clip. It's about at the 8. I'm going to see if I can, kind of pull forward to where that piece is, where the PNP blatantly is trying to copy another piece of our message. They couldn't have seen, they didn't see this for they didn't see this for the last 80 years. And now they're going to try to tell you that they've always seen it and they've been doing so. It's a lie. Damian Crawford is lying, misrepresenting. Yes, the PNP has always spoken about land reform, but that's it, spoken about. They have come up with all kinds of little gimmicks about land reform, but never what the UIC is proposing. The UIC is proposing the unequivocal return of the land to the people. They've never proposed that. They've never tried to implement that. And they've had 18.5 straight years to do that and never did it. So don't be fooled by Damian Crawford and his little sophistry and trickery that he's coming with now. I will not stand for it. I've been very quiet on a lot of their shenanigans and trickery, but this one really cut to the core. They only recently learned about local reparation, where I said it, that if they really cared about reparation, they would have done what they could have done from the time they were elected, especially from the 60s to now. But they did not. They never did. Even though they had the supermajority in the House of Parliament, they never did pursue local reparation for the Jamaican people to return to them the land that was stolen from their ancestors. Damian Crawford, your party did not do it. You did not return the land to the Jamaican people. So now don't come and thief the UIC policy and peddling it as your own to suggest that now you're ready. No, not that you're ready, that you have always been about that. That's not true. It's politicking, it's game playing. You want to fool the Jamaican people once again, Damian Crawford. Shame on you. And the funny thing is, he knows better, but he's playing the game. And that's why I tell you, there are no good candidates in the PNP and JLP. None whatsoever. There are no good candidates in the PNP or JLP. They are simply persons there looking for their opportunity to be where Andrew is. They too want the big house on the hill. They too want the high fence. And it's true. It's bad mind for sure. The whole of them are bad mind each other. Seeing how they can win their time in office so they can amass to themselves the wealth that they see some of them have successfully done. They are all a bunch of crooks, and I can say that without hesitation or apology. They sit there and play games after games after games with the hearts and minds and emotions of the Jamaican people while destroying our economic fabric and pushing many and many down into all forms of destructive behavior. So I don't want to hear anything about any good candidates. If a candidate is good, if there's one JLP or PNP good candidate, I can tell you who that is when they quit the JLP and PNP and tell you the truth that I have been telling you. When they come out and tell you the truth, then that will be the day that they're a good candidate. And it doesn't matter if they told you all kind of nice things. Yes, some may have said land for the landless. That's a wonderful phrase. But what is the solution? The UIC has the solution. The UIC is the one that made it clear if Singapore, with the size of St. Thomas as their entire landmass, not even the 14 parishes that we have, Singapore is 1/15, 1 out of 15, 3 5s, 1, 2, 3. Singapore is 1/15 the size of Jamaica, and yet still with 6 million people, more than twice the size of Jamaica's population, they have achieved a 92% home ownership rate in that country. And I said to you for months now, for years now, if Singapore can do that, we can do even better. And if the PNP under Norman Manley, Michael Manley, PJ Patterson, Portia Simpson, if the PNP over the entire course of its history, who believes in socialism so much, could not do what Lee Kuan Yew has been doing from 1965 until his death and to this day, if they could not, with 18.5 years in office, could not have done that. And I'll tell you all kind of story about CIA and all kind of A. The bottom line is they had the same opportunity as Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore, and they failed miserably. Many PNP today are living in squalor. Many PNP who have voted for 30 years, 40 years, all their lives for PNP are living in squalor today because the PNP failed them and failed us and failed all of Jamaica. The JLP has an equal disastrous record. The JLP under Bustamante, Sangster, Shearer, Siaga, Bruce Golding, and Andrew Holness have failed the Jamaican people miserably. The JLP has always gotten the first attempt to fix Jamaica. In 1944, they were the first party to be elected in the history of Jamaica when we got universal adult suffrage, or the right to vote, one man, one vote, in 1944. Bustamante got the first 2 terms in office in 1944. What did they do with that first 2 terms? They failed the people. In 1962, the JLP again got the first 2 terms, Bustamante and company, and Sangster and Shearer. And what did they do with that first 2 terms? They failed the people again. And every time they failed the people, the PNP was elected. And every time the PNP failed the people, the GLP was elected. And we have done this now, my friends, for 8 long decades. Nearly 80 years, we have done that over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And there are some among us who want to do it again. There are some among us who want to continue to do what has failed us over and over and over and over again. But I'm not buying it. I would rather not vote than to vote for either of these 2 political parties. And that is why I created the UIC, because I want to vote. I want to participate in our electoral process. And so I did what I could, and I step up and I step forward, and I put my life, my money, my time, my energy, and my family on the line, and decide I'm going to give myself and every Jamaican a chance to do something better than we have done for the last 80 years. Of course, if people don't want it, I can't force you. If you don't want it, that's a part of life. It's a pity that all of us have to live with the decisions of all of us. We can't escape it. We can't say, okay, them choose that and we can go over here and live something else. So we're all here in it. Yeah. So it's tough. But let me share this clip with you. I really want to show you. Let me see if I can get to it. Hopefully I can. And I want you to see what this little fella here is doing. So let's see if we can get to it. I'm going to try to get to the mark where he is there. Let me see if I can get there. I think this is it about here. About here. Here we go. Somewhere here. Let's start it here and see how it goes.
Customers are more likely to open emails they can trust. Get a professional email from GoDaddy and
estimated at $101 trillion. 78 trillion is owed for what happened during slavery and 22 trillion for what occurred after the practice had been abolished. Of that total, Jamaica.
All right, let's back up a little bit. We're going to go back to where they're talking about JPs and then we'll come into this. So let's start here.
To help in holding.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
The People's National Party continues to be critical of the leadership of the Andrew Holness government. It comes as the country continues to seek funds from the British government for the ravages of slavery and the lack of recognition of two past prime ministers of the country. The matters were again brought to the fore by opposition Senator Damian Crawford. Alshim Burke has the details.
As the debate around reparations for slavery intensifies, there's a call for the matter to be looked at from the local perspective first, before looking to England. According to 2023 estimates, damages owed by those responsible for the transatlantic chattel slavery is estimated at $101 trillion. 78 trillion is owed for what happened during slavery and 22 trillion for what occurred after the practice had been abolished. Of that total, Jamaica is owed $7.5 trillion. But speaking at a PNP award ceremony recently, opposition Senator Damian Crawford says reparations should start from home, with the government allowing citizens to own a piece of the rock called Jamaica.
So here is where here's where Damian Crawford is now going to, like they've done with all of our policies, here's where Damian Crawford is going to try to co-opt the UIC's talking points, because they know that they have the media, which is owned by the PSOJ, that is going to share this with Jamaican people right across the board, while the media owned by the PSOJ never allows the Jamaican people to hear this from us first. They must hear it from Damian Crawford and the PNP first, so that the people's minds can say, oh, wow, the PNP is working for us, and not ask the question, where were they 80 years ago? Watch and listen. This is classical political theft, and that's why I tell you, there are no good candidates. They're all a part of the game. Watch the game now. Listen to this carefully. Watch what he's going to do and say here. 100% UIC policy.
Because the land upon which is owned by government was owned by transfer from those who colonized this country and those who took advantage of those who were our forefathers in this country. So
when did he discover this? When did Damian Crawford discover this truth? When does this magical truth come to Damian Crawford? Was it when he watched one of my videos that it dawned on him suddenly that, oh my goodness, but it's true. The land that we have in Jamaica is not owned by the government. The land we have in Jamaica was stolen from our ancestors. And so that land should be returned to the Jamaican people free of charge. But when did Damian and the PNP discover this? When did Michael Manley or PJ Patterson or Portia Simpson discover this? When did they come to the realization? And if they came to that realization before now, why in their various 2 terms in office, with super majorities in office, why over PJ Patterson's 18.5 years in office, why wasn't that time used to do what the UIC is saying should be done now? Why is it that in 2023 is when Damian Crawford is now aware of this and is willing to pronounce now that we must have local reparation and that the PNP was always for this. Why no? Why not in the past 80 years? Why didn't they do it then? Why today? Why have they allowed Jamaicans to suffer so much until now before they decide to do what the UIC says should be done and the UIC promises to do, but the media is not telling you? But Damian Crawford gets the full media coverage to stand before you and share this while the UIC languishes in the wilderness and the news media pretend as if we don't exist and never carries any of these messages until either the PNP or the JLP decides to announce it. That's when they're ready to carry it. Why not? I would love to know. But we all know why.
There should be some conversation about the distribution of land and the usage of land.
He says that was the aim of the PNP government, but they were chastised for the move.
Operation Pride was an effort to distribute land under PJ Patterson.
So Operation Pride was an effort to steal money from the people of Jamaica. Operation Pride was a method of creating garrisons in Jamaica. Operation Pride was another form of corruption in Jamaica. Operation Pride was used to funnel money away from their intended purposes into the pockets of a few. And that's what the JLP and PNP always do. They always use all kind of nice sounding schemes as a way of ripping off the Jamaican people. And if we elect them again, they will do nothing less than rip us off again while saying nice words. And that is what Damon is doing. I can clearly say this is a wolf pretending to wear sheep clothing. Clearly say that.
And so therefore the People's National Party understood the importance of reversing some of the negatives of slavery by using land reform to create ownership and using ownership to create wealth. That is why I told them, let me give you 2 goats, so that they could look.
Oh my goodness. So now he's trying to legitimize the handout politics. The Jamaican people don't want you to give them 2 goats. We don't want 2 goats. What we want is good governance and for you to give us back what is rightfully ours, which was stolen by the colonial masters and withheld, which means also stolen by you and your political party over the last 80 years. So we don't want the goat. We don't want the free goats. It's not free goats the Jamaican people need. It's freedom that we need. Freedom from the corruption, from the theft of your 2 parties. Give us what government should give us, which is a safe environment, a clean environment, an orderly environment, good public infrastructure, a truly free and fair market economy so that we can earn and produce and take care of ourselves and buy our own goats if we want to buy goats. Give us back the land that was stolen from us by your colonial masters and continued by your colonial parties and promoted by your PSOJ oligarchy. You are the ones that are the problem, not a free goat. We don't want any free goat, Mr. Crawford. We don't want no handouts. We want the government to do what government should do. You collected our taxes and you should have given us an environment that produces a strong economy so we can buy our own goat if we want to buy goats. So don't come and play with us, but that's why you want to give us free goats. And now try to tell us that you want to correct some of the wrongs of slavery. You have had your turn. You have had your chance. The 2 of them have had more than enough time to fix all of this. And they have not fixed it. And now they're going to come and play word sophistry, word smithing, nice sounding phrases. They're not interested in empowering the Jamaican people. They're interested in impoverishing the people, keeping us all in their control. Yes, so that we can want your two goats. That's what they want. They want us to depend on politicians to give us goat, to give us zinc, to give us cement, to give us steel, to give us few blocks, and keep us under their thumbs, under their control. That's what they want. And that is why I tell you, there is no good candidate in any of those two parties. They are a part of the problem. They want a handout dependent society. That's what they want. They want to keep Jamaica the way it was before they took over. They want to continue to sit in the big seat, the master seat. But they're the masters, and we the people are their little minions, there to work under them. So whether they talk about socialism or capitalism, don't be fooled by any of it. Don't be fooled by any of their labels or any of their pronouncement. Focus on the fact. And here's the fact. They have had 80 long years to give you everything that they're now promising. 80 long years they've had it. And if they didn't give it to you in 80 years, whether they come with a black face, a brown face, a white face, a female face, an old face, or a young face, it does not matter. There are still the same result regardless of the face they put on it. The face is like putting a lipstick on a pig. Don't let them fool you with Mark like how the GLP fool you with Andrew. Don't let them fool you with Lisa like how the PNP fool you with Portia. Don't let them fool you with no new leader, because the leader is not the party. The party is the party is the party. And those two parties have one master, and that master is the PSOJ oligarchy, whose master is the colonial powers, just like it is over them. They have preserved the system of colonialism. They simply changed the name and said, now we have a parliament. Now we have a governor general instead of a governor. So they change out the white governor with a governor general, a black governor general, to fool with. But it's the same system. They change the name from chief minister to premier to prime minister, but it's the same system. And now Andrew is going to trick us and try to give us a fake republic. They're going to change the name now from governor general to president, but at the same system them are giving. And the aim of that system is to maintain and preserve the master-slave economy, where them are the master and we are the slave. That is the goal of their system. So don't be fooled by Mr. Crawford and him nice talking. Crawford and all of them are being crafty, and their goal is to trick us again so that they can take power again. They're playing us against each other. They were used by the colonial master so that we stop fighting against colonialism and stop fighting against imperialism and start fight each other. That is their ism. Their ism is for us to fight each other, to hate each other. Yeah? And then when we get elected now, we deceive each other. PNP time now. And those people who are attached to the PNP party the closest, them gets little something and the others not get nothing. And on a GLP time now, and those most connected to it, them get something and others not get nothing. That's not how you want to run a country. That's not how you build a great country. You build a great country around unity, around good governance. Get rid of corruption. Create a safe environment. Create a clean and beautiful environment. Create an educated nation with people who are educated to think and reason and create and produce. And then nobody don't have to worry about no handout. Because you have built up your people. You have lifted them up from the bottom up. You have elevated their minds. And that is why the UIC has the policies that we have. Our policies are empowerment policies. Our policies are people-driven policies. Our policies are developmental policies. Our policies are about real bottom-up prosperity for the people of Jamaica. We are not here to play politics. Joseph Patterson is not here to run up and down all over the place and play the game of politics to satisfy those who want to see the circus. We're not here for the political circus. We're here to offer Jamaica a solid solution to the problem created by these two monsters we call parties, these two gangs. The UIC is here to educate and empower, to undo the brainwashing and reverse the brain drain. That's why we're going to open Jamaica and make it Jamaica for all Jamaicans around the world. That's why we're going to give the vote to every Jamaican, no matter where you're in the world, you get to vote in Jamaican elections. We want you to be fully bought into the country, fully connected with your country again. So once you're a Jamaican, you could live in Egypt or Israel, Germany or Japan, US or Canada or England, wherever you are, Cayman, you will have the ability to vote from anywhere you are in the world in our election. The UIC says so, and we're going to make that happen. That is why we want to make sure when you want to come home to this country, you must be able to come home lock, stock, and barrel, duty-free, because you're Jamaican and your property is yours, and you must be able to bring it home without paying money again to bring home what you buy already. So we're going to allow you to come home with whatever you have, 100% duty-free. And that is why in our government, in our system of governance, as long as you're a Jamaican and you have the credentials, no matter where you live in the world, we will recruit you back home to come and serve as a minister of government, not as a politician. Let the politicians them run for office and be representatives, but we're going to separate the executive from the legislative and make sure the executive branch has only competent and qualified persons in each of the ministries. So healthcare, as a minister who understands public health. Education, as a minister who's highly qualified and competent as an educator. Public works, as a minister who has engineering credentials, civil engineering credentials. National security has somebody as the highest knowledge and experience in the security industry, particularly from a police standpoint. So we want a Jamaica that is designed to work for you, not a Jamaica which is designed to maintain political lineage and political connections and political corruption. So if that's what you want, the UIC is your movement. Now, all I'm saying is not easy, of course. It requires a lot of work, okay? And so it means we have to make it happen. So all of us who want that better Jamaica, we have to now come and realize we have a big fight on our hands. We're fighting against big money interests in the PSOJ oligarchy. They have the money and they're going to spend the money to win the next election. So we have to put our little together, our little together, our one cocoa together. We have to now donate to the party. Our $10, or $25, or $50, or $100 a month, US, or $250 Jamaican a week, or 1,000 Jamaican a month, or 5,000 Jamaican. We have to donate and build up a treasure chest and use that to win the election, because we want that Jamaica. We want that safe Jamaica. We want that anti-corrupt Jamaica. We want that clean and beautiful Jamaica, where all of Jamaica, not just some, but all of Jamaica is a tourist destination, not for the tourists, but for we, the people, because we respect ourselves, because we love ourselves, because we want a country that is designed for us to enjoy. And then, of course, we welcome the tourists to come and spend their money with us. That's what we want. We want a Jamaica where agriculture is the center of our industry again. not with low-wage labor, but with Jamaicans proud to be the world leading producer of organic foods and vegetables, becoming a major supplier to the rest of the world and creating a clean Jamaica with clean foods, healthy food to reduce our cancer rates and lift up our health standards and make us the envy of the world. That's the Jamaica we want. We want a Jamaica where we're food secure because we provide enough food for ourselves and we don't have to import except a few nice things that others produce that we don't. We want a Jamaica that is water secure because we designed the country to collect the massive amount of water that God bless us with and stop wasting it and then suffering in droughts. We want an energy secure Jamaica because we realize that, again, God has blessed us with an abundance of energy, various forms of alternative energy, various forms of renewable energy, geo, solar, water, or hydro, bioenergy. We have it. So let's produce it for ourselves and make our country water, food, and energy secure. Make our country clean, beautiful, look, smell, and feel like a tourist resort. And let's make all of our country a place where tourists want to come. So we can double and quadruple our tourism inflow. We can double and quadruple our food production and export and become a high income earning country, just like Singapore or better. Let's bring our GDP per capita up from 7, 8, 9,000 to Singaporean level, 65, 70,000 US dollars per person. Let's do that. We can do it. The only reason we haven't done it is because of the GLP and PNP and the PSOJ oligarchy. They're the ones standing between us and mass production. They're the ones standing between us and mass prosperity. They're the ones standing between us and a safe, clean, and orderly country because them don't want it. That's why Jamaica's so dirty. The Prime Minister understands what cleanliness is. He understands what beauty is. That's why Theme Place looks up. But he don't want you to have that. That's why Jamaica looks up. Our leaders of the last 80 years have no pride, no love, no respect for the Jamaican people. They only have pride in what them have and what them want for themselves. So they want the pretty house. They want the pretty yard. They want the pretty car, but you mustn't have it. You must be their maids. You must be their servant. You must be their inferior. That's what them want. And they have preserved that for the last 80 years. That's what they want, and they have kept it that way. And the time has come for you to say, enough is enough, no more. We're done with PNP, we're done with GLP, and by God, we're done with the PSOJ oligarchy. That's what you and I need to say. I have said it, the UIC has preached it, and it's time for you to join us and embrace it. We can and must rise up against these two evil factions and their benefactor. Yes, they won't invite me too much on their program and they cut me off as soon as I come on because I speak the truth. They want to talk about tweets and letters and gossip and soap opera. I want to talk about corruption in this country. I want to talk about good governance in this country. I want to talk about creating a Jamaica that is not a fake republic. I want a real republic, a republic that will protect the sovereignty of every citizen and provide them with the kind of society they need to succeed. That's what we're fighting for. And I hope you want the same thing too. Because if you don't, then you're not going to do what it takes. If you want a new and better Jamaica, then you're going to do more than just wish and hope for it. Like me, you're going to put your shoulders to the wheel. Like me, you're going to donate your time, your talent, and your treasure. I lead by example. And my example is to make sure that I went through the grime and the gutter and the pain and the struggle of creating the UIC for you and for me. The UIC is your movement. The UIC is my movement. The UIC is our movement. The UIC is our ticket out of wage slavery. It's our ticket out of the corruption that these two parties have created and maintained over the last 8 years. And so, I'm asking you to do what I have done. Donate. You may not be able to come here and physically join me on the battlefield, but you can send supplies. Every dollar you donate empowers us to attract more candidates. Right now, we have roughly 20 something candidates. We might get to 30 because it's always fluctuating. People come and you have your test them out, you say that they're not good and they leave, or you have to tell them sorry. So we're struggling, trying to find quality persons to represent us across the nation. So it's very difficult because a lot of people, they don't want to work. They want to come into something that's fully developed. Everything is perfect and they can just walk in and it's a red carpet and everything is done. That's what they want. The UIC is not that. The UIC is hard work. When you join this movement and you come to volunteer or you come to be a candidate, you have to put in some work. You're not coming here to just come sit down and everything is given to you on a platter. So some people don't like that. Some people want an environment where when they come in, all the work is done for them. That's what always fool up Jamaica. We want it ready-made. It must be perfect and done already. And that is why the foreigners come here and we worship them. And they come with their pre-made stuff. We just say, yes, Lord, thank you. And we just sup it up and find out later on that we have been tricked. The UIC is our party, my people. The UIC is our movement. The UIC is Jamaican, 100%. The PNP is not Jamaican. The GLP is not Jamaican. Those two parties were created by and in cahoots with our colonial masters. That's why these two parties welcomed and placed on us a constitution that was not for us. That is why they have embraced and caused us to embrace a colonial power as our head of state. That's why they have maintained the system of economics and signed off on the treaties that they've signed on to that makes Jamaica a vassal of the global elite structure. Them no mean we no good. Them don't mean us any good. Yes, I know them talk good, but you must look at their actions, look at their deeds. The Bible says, by their fruits you shall know them. And that is so true. Look at the outcome, my friends. I shouldn't have to be pleading this hard enough, but some people head tough. Look, my friends, look carefully. Look at just the dollar. Look at where the dollar coming from. And as long as we have these two parties, it's down, 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 down. Look at the value of your money that you save. If you're 50-year-old, you must be shaking in your boots. If you're 60, you must be shaking. What are you going to do in your retirement? Where is the value of your savings? When little NIS check come, it can't buy nothing. They have wiped out the value of your purchasing power. These two parties, they have stolen from you silently over the entire period of your working life. Just the other day, them trick up the teachers again and trick up the policemen again and give them sign a wage deal. It's all a trick. By next year, the value of the money they wipe out. You're going to start ball again. The UIC was telling you that we need to make sure that your wages are pegged to inflation. But you didn't listen. I tried so hard to get that message out. Only about 20 or so people show up for the good governance walk, and every day people telling me I must go lead march. Lead march to where? Nobody not coming out to the march. So I must go out there again and waste my time. No, I have work to do. Like you, I have to feed my family. So I have to go earn some money to pay for my family's education, healthcare, and housing, and all the rest of it, just like you. So if you're not willing to give up any time and any money to help to make it happen, why should I go out there and stand up with 20 people? On a serious note, let's get real. When I am serious, I am putting out the effort. But many of you are still on waiting and asking, what am I doing next, as opposed to getting involved. It's time for us to realize that Jamaica not going to change unless we do it. And if we don't get up and make sure the UIC has the money, has the candidate, and has your support, sharing across all platforms, sharing like crazy, telling people, because you know that the media is against us. You know that the media is doing everything possible. If they bring me on, it's to ridicule me. Otherwise, block. So the media not there for us. We don't have the money to buy a whole heap of ads. So that's not happening either. So we have to rise up and do more. And by the way, I still have to say it again, a big shout out to the 200 of you who have been funding this movement so far. 200 donors every month sending in what they can to help. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. Okay? And so tonight, you have seen it. We spoke about the Beryllium tragedy, and the topic for tonight is Beryllium now, we next. Yes, all of us are next. If the gunmen are getting so brazen, so targeted, yeah, so vile, so vicious, they're hungry. They're hungry. And as the noose get tighter around their necks, because we don't have a government that is focused on creating opportunities for the people, you're going to have more criminals. And a lot of innocent people are going to suffer and are suffering right now. This last attack on Beryllium was right here in my backyard. 5 minutes away from my house is where this attack took place. And in Santa Cruz, which is about 15-20 minutes from my house, more and more. Just today, they went in and hold up the grocery store. And they have done a number. They have attacked the bank. They killed a policeman in the corner out there, so when the Chinese man going to make his deposit. So the crime rate, the crime epidemic is spreading across the country. You see what's happening in our school. There's a breakdown in morals, a breakdown in respect for authority. Why? Because the whole moral fabric of our society is falling apart, even as the economic fabric falls apart. So don't be misled by the fake statistics that the Prime Minister and others will be putting out there. Fake economic statistics, fake crime statistics, trying to tell you that the situation is better. It's not better. It's worse. And it's getting worse by the minute. Wait till China finally have to take charge of some of our assets because we can't pay them. Yeah? Now, we have a government, though, that has always paid its debt for the most part, except for 2 defaults, 2 or 3. They will do anything to the Jamaican people to pay back those illegal debts. They will crucify us. They will milk us. They will let us drive on rocks instead of roads because they don't care what happens to us, the small, insignificant worker slaves that they have at the bottom. They are happy to maintain the colonial system of they being the master and we being the slave. So don't be fooled by them again. This election, if you vote for one or the other, you're voting for a continuation of what you have already had. The time has come for you to give yourself a fighting chance. by not only voting for the UIC, but joining, volunteering, and donating. The future of Jamaica is in your hand, as it is in mine. One Jamaica, we're stronger together. Have a good night until we talk again. Take care.